We talked about pedigree and the university they went to probably gets over indexed as well. Anything else that hiring managers should consider when they're looking at a resume or interviewing somebody so they don't fall into those traps?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if it's necessarily a trap, but it's just knowing that there's a bias associated with it. One could be with, past employers. There's employers that, we don't need to name, but if you've worked there, people might like, ooh, you worked there. So it kind of makes that person stand out a little bit more. But yet maybe someone that worked at the startup, like you, Andy, would actually be better for a role like this versus someone that worked in another known organizations. That's one. And the other one is the schools. And I think even more probably in the US than elsewhere, or in Canada, for example. But I think that obviously the Ivy League school, they're hard to get into, but also hard to afford. So by default, it becomes a bias on who can get access to such school. And then you're discrediting a bunch of other people's if you just look at schools. So just something to be aware of. It doesn't mean don't look at schools. It just means be aware that some great candidate might also show from, college that you never heard of. And that's okay. They might be very, very good. A lot of grit.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot could happen with, somebody working at a big company like, you could say like a Microsoft. Love those guys, by the way. But you could say, oh, wow, he worked at Microsoft. Well, he didn't co-found the company, but
yeah.
Maybe they did a really good job in their particular role, but there's a big team behind it and everything. Whereas maybe somebody, like you mentioned, from a startup might do more from more of the 0 to 1 and, maybe be able to wear a bunch of different hats. Right. So just being able to look past the titles of the company or even the titles they had at those companies too, to just see the underlying skills and capabilities of the person.